Good day to all. Welcome to Extreme Recap. Welcome to Extreme Recap, everyone. A bad guy has taken the parents of two spy kids. Before the man transforms them into bizarre, brainless beings, they must now save them. Today, we will recap the account of the film Spy Kids from 2001. Carmen and Junie are preparing for bed. But before going to bed, to cover his warts, the boy wraps colored ribbons around his fingers. Then in network, the kid's mom chooses to recount two covert operatives who fall head over heels seriously, however are engaged with a hazardous interest in this story. A lady is given the mission to end the existence of another spy. In the past, a lot of spies were trained out of fear of war. They only feared each other because they were experts at hiding. The woman was supposed to get rid of the other spy, but she couldn't because she was so taken with his ways. They eventually part ways together, but they do so secretly to keep their superiors from finding out. After some time together, the several covert agents choose to wander into the most troublesome mission of grown up. When the day came for marriage, both the bride and groom said yes. However, the greatest challenge was yet to come because, in addition to the challenges posed by their marriage, the two also became the targets of their most vehement adversaries. The couple was forced to give up their missions and live a quiet life when their children arrived after a few years. Ingrid and Gregorio, the children's parents, are the focus of the story of the spies who fall in love. However, the infants are unaware. The woman expresses her concern for the children who are concealing their mischief at school and the furniture in the house as they are being tricked by technological panels. The following day, Junior and Carmen are exercising at home, but the girl pushes her brother because she is annoyed by his slowness. The boy immediately retaliates by throwing an object at his sister on his way to school, despite falling to the ground. Gregorio complains to his son about how much time he spends watching television. However, the man now realizes that Junie, one of the characters in Mr. Flute, is watching. When he arrives at school, shares a lot of similarities with one of his foes. The covert operative observes one of the understudies abusing his child. He immediately goes to speak with the boy, but the boy's father stands in his way. The man obviously does not leave it that way. As a result, he throws the boy's father away, thus eliminating him. Actually, everything took place in Gregorio's head. Angry that his father had not responded, he lacked the courage to confront the muscular individual. Junie wishes to get away to the program he cherishes to such an extent. In the meantime, Mr. Accident makes specialists who have been programmed and transformed into odd, feudal thumbs. Agent Donegan is shown his new creation, a robot very similar to his son, by the scientist. The child leaps over him and grabs his legs in a matter of seconds, making him fall like a sack of potatoes to the ground. A copy was made by the president's daughter as well. She brings down the insidious specialist once more. Next, Flu reveals that he intends to create a large number of similar spies to foremen. Despite their strength, the new robots are unable to use their heads and can only make strange sounds with their mouths, so they are not good enough to replicate human minds. Donegan is dissatisfied with the demonstrations and insists on superior inventions or he will not carry out his plans. After learning that several agents are disappearing without a reason, Gregorio decides to go on a mission to find out where his colleagues are, so Fluke's robots carry him out of the main room. Despite Ingrid's desire, her husband forbids her from attending due to the children. In order to persuade him, the woman is forced to use her charm. Therefore, the solution was to ask Uncle Felix for assistance in child care. Just like in the past, the couple don their spy uniforms, gather their supplies, and set out on their new mission. Mrs. Gringo clearly insinuates herself to Gregorio during the trip via video call. Ingrid feels jealous about this. Furthermore, at similar moment, intrudes on the discussion when they come to a bend. The vehicle goes straight through the parkway and plunges into the sea. At that point, the vehicle is transformed into a kind of submarine and placed at sea's bottom. The flute is shown on the television in the car because the woman's signal breaks. After that, he tells them that before they can figure out how the man communicated, he needs something that only the spy couple has access to. They realize that a submarine is following them. As a result, the two of them manage to escape until they are taken in by a massive machine at the ocean's bottom. In the meantime, in the Cortez family home, a high alert is set off. The children and their uncle run toward a hidden location as a result of this. Felix reveals that he is a spy hired to protect the children when they are in danger, not their real uncle. Nonetheless, the girl is incredulous that her parents, who take such great care of her, might be international spies. A mysterious entryway opens for the little ones to enter the dugout. When the children turn on a television to see that their friend is being attacked by strange men, Felix returns home to face his enemies. The bunker and were used by the two siblings to escape, following their uncle's orders, which has been changed over into a flying pot. Henchmen in flutes chase the children across the water's surface. Be that as it may, they nearly run over a boat while attempting to steer the boat, yet figured out how to evade it. Their adversaries, who are on the right track behind, break the unfortunate man's boat into equal parts. Carmen helps Junior get back on the ship after he falls off soon after. After this interruption, they are aware that they are heading toward a small island, but they accidentally activated the autopilot, transforming the ship into a submarine. At first glance, the boats of the small spies' pursuers explode when they run into the rock. After that, the kids play with the dashboard of the car and look at the wonders of the sea floor and the enormous sharks that surround the submarine in enemy territory. Ingrid and Gregorio learned that the characters on Fluke's show were, in fact, monster-turned agents. Since the children are the only weakness of the two well-known spies, the villain reveals that he intends to use them as a distraction. The children make their way to the shelter and a wonderful location in which food appears in the cupboard. Besides, the spot has a microwave that makes food from cartridges. Junie is sad despite everything around him and refuses to eat the fries his sister made. After all, he is unable to rely on his parents in the place where they are hiding. Ingrid burns the rope that holds her hands together with the laser from her ring. Unexpectedly, a hole appears in the ground as the couple attempts to flee the location. Gregory tries to jump from behind but stays behind. Nonetheless, his energy isn't sufficient. Before he can fall, a glass shows up on the ground and isolates him from the cliff. The couple finally reaches the virtual room, an unusual put that mimics puts on planet Earth. Unexpectedly, they fall into a gorge that drives them to woodwinds. Supper table. Despite the fact that everyone eats something gooey, the villain talks about seizing the two children. Gregory makes a hasty threat to end his adversary's life, but the guards force him to remain seated. The next thing Flute says is that he wants to use the spies' knowledge to make his creations. He quickly shows that he should just go for it and takes steps to transform the man into a hazy. Gregorio will not help him, so he turns out to be excused through an opening in the ground at the haven. The two kids play with their parents' surveillance equipment. When Junie tries to get it out of the box, he gets his hand caught in a handcuff. Incidentally hits his own head. Mrs. Giordano, accompanied by several men, knocks on the door of the hiding place and enters without permission just as the children decide to look for the assailant. The boy does not want to believe that his idol is a villain who transforms spies into monsters, even though the woman reveals that Fluke is responsible for ingredient Gregorio's disappearance. Carmen sends Felix's message on her behalf. It declares that the third brain is still alive and receives a Gradden's bracelet. The boy alters a picture frame while they are conversing. Junie realizes that the men are sinking their ship into the water, revealing that they are actually on the enemy side, which reveals the brain that is so sought after by the agents looking outside. The children find this out past the point of no return, because the woman already controls the third brain. To retrieve her father's creation, the children must now defend themselves. The young lady leaps over the fan. However, she is unable to reach the man who has fled the shelter. Without a second thought, Carmen snatches one of the engines and takes off in a gawky design. But the thumbs are right behind her. Junior manages to attack Mrs. Greenco with a box that is tied to his hand while trying to escape. When the agents arrive in an alley at the same time, they cause the woman's hair to catch fire. Carmen escapes through the caves despite being trapped. She regains consciousness and quickly flees, crashing into a flute board as her pursuers do so. Carmen is unable to hold Junie for long because the boy falls when the girl returns to the shelter to retrieve her brother from the hiding place. Luckily, she figures out how to contact him before he collides with the ground. They therefore hide together in a clothing store. The thumbs enter the establishment shortly thereafter to search for the children. In any case, quickly abandon the holder with flight engines. However, the object is struck by a vehicle. Additionally, the men are aware that the kids are absent. In the meantime, the two siblings were able to sneak out of the store and board a streetcar at the castle without being noticed. Accident is bothered by the kids' getaway, so Alexander recommends catching them involving robots. As Carmen examines her messed up tracker, a frightening revelation becomes exposed. A secret note with the name Cleaver and a photograph of her dad with an obscure man. After that, Junie tries to kill the third brain, but the girl manages to stop him just in time. But they start fighting. She also finds out that the bracelet she got is actually a tracker on her arm in the confusion. The young lady goes to the wellspring to hydrate, and Junie approaches her. Nevertheless, she is observing her brother on the other side while he is speaking in a peculiar manner, being carried into the air by a child who appears to be very tall. Carmen tries to punch her evil brother because she realizes that he is one of Fluke's creations. But in the end, the steel skin of the robot hurts her hand. The brain is thrown away before Junie can destroy it, and it ends up falling into one of the playground toys. The villainous girl spins the machine quickly enough to steal the object. The insidious youngsters leave. On the other hand, Junie is successful in snatching the necklace from the robot boy. On it reads, "There will be thousands of them in the past." After the formation of the third mind, Gregory was requested to annihilate it. Be that as it may, he didn't follow the orders and kept them mysterious from his family to safeguard them. Machete, who the kids finally meet, tells them that he is Gregorio's brother. Put another way, the real uncle in the castle flute is the child's real uncle. He wants to try a new approach to get his own ideas. Compass quickly reveals that he has obtained the third brain with this twist because Alexander is the real creator of the Muffin Children. He assumes command over the circumstance and provides requests to capture Woodwind, having his spot at Uncle Cleaver's store. The kin find that he makes knickknacks for both great and terrible individuals. He begs the children to assist them in saving their parents. However, he asserts that lending them a miniature airplane is his only option during mealtime. Even after his nephew and niece are put to sleep, the kids can't stop talking about the need to save their parents, despite being served food that is completely out of the ordinary. Machete doesn't change. With laser swords in hand, the children quietly make their way to their uncle's room in the early morning to get the map of Fluke's castle. The elderly man wakes up before the departure, narrowly missing. The children take a few machines from the man's studio. Later, on the way to the castle, Machete wakes up to the sound of the plane taking off. As soon as a fight breaks out between the two, the children are forced to take command of the aircraft as the plane's autopilot begins to fail, prompting them to hurry toward the castle. Fortunately, the kids were able to get out of the plane before it crashed into the castle's rocks with their diving gear. The third brain is being used to make several robots. One of the thumbs is discovered by the siblings when they reach the location. Carmen quickly intervenes, chewing an electroshock gum and spitting on the monster as Junie becomes frightened. In order for them to see that a number of criminals and prisoners are approaching, the boy spreads numerous cameras throughout the corridor. The children come up with the brilliant idea of hiding in the ceiling when the enemies arrive. Junie then asks one of the prisoners where his parents are while the thumbs are distracted. The boy is taken aback by the thumbs as soon as he gets back to the ground. However, Carmen knocks them out with shock bubbles, allowing them to escape toward the dungeon. They attempt to break into a group of robotic children as they travel along. Be that as it may, their procedure fizzles for the little beasts are more brilliant at this point. The siblings then flee and reach the corridor, where a floor hole suddenly appears. Carmen tries to get out, but she can't and falls helplessly into the void. Junie continues on to the virtual room. He and the flute meet inside. Carmen finally reaches the end of the hole where she had fallen, and as she steps onto dry land, she comes across the thumb factory. Alexander used to work at the AS with Gregory on the same team, but he was kicked out for trying to incorporate his ideas into the third brain system. Mrs. Greenco appears radiant upon her return, but half of her hair is missing. Despite this, Alexander is kind to her. In the interim, Woodwind attempts to persuade Judy that main Compass, the lowlife. As he leaves the room, the boy runs into one of the thumbs and jumps on it after dropping a shock bomb on the man's forehead, causing him to quickly return to his normal size. The two of them tumble to the ground. When they get to the dungeon where their mother is imprisoned, he is surprised to discover that only his sister is dressed in costume. Gregory changed into a monstrosity. However, Flute knows how to reclaim him. A voice calls Alexander's attention from loudspeakers while he is in a meeting. The entire family arrives when Compasiana discovers Junior and ties the villain to a table. In order to prevent the army of children from leaving the castle, they then force him to press a button and transform into a monster. The heroes proceed toward the control room. Nevertheless, halfway there, Ingrid and Gregorio are gotten by their kid's look. Similar to when Flute and the siblings reach the room, they propose reprogramming the robots in the main room to become good. While Donegan demands his children's army, in the form of one of his monsters, Compass suddenly appears. Carmen and Junie figured out how to find their folks once more, yet neglect to focus on them. At the point when a lift takes the two government agents off the premises, before long, the robot copies show up considerably more astute and more grounded, yet the adolescents feel free to them. Simultaneously with Carmen activating a mechanism to anchor the junior robot to the ceiling. She looks like her brother and is doing everything by herself. Gregory and Ingrid, on the other hand, were able to escape. But they fall into the main room, where all the bad guys are gathered. After that, Donegan says that he wants to see the children's army in action. Junior is discarded by Carmen because of evil. The robot takes his sister into its grasp. Soon after, the robot girl tries to intimidate her opponent by hitting a wall like it was made of plastic. The robot quickly grabs Junie by the collar. Nonetheless, he is exceptionally smart and spits electric gum in his foe's face. Carmen manages to get away from her evil brother by taking advantage of the distraction. Right away, the kids shoot a gooey paste on their clones so they can rapidly escape before they get free. Before they can celebrate the arrival of the army of 500 robots, the kids make their way to the hallway, where their parents eliminate several evil agents. However, unbeknownst to them, Uncle Machete also turns up to support them, surprising them. Flute lends a helping hand, eventually reprogramming the robot children. Presently the cheerful adolescents run toward their makers. Machete can't stop crying as Gregorio tenderly embraces him after the siblings finally meet again. Flute also gained a lot of knowledge from this. He informs Junie that the youngster's helpfulness assisted him in reprogramming the robots. The kids then tell their parents that they have also joined the covert operations team. After some time. In the news, the robot children are seen participating in a variety of community activities all over the world. Alexander is now a fugitive from Mr. Fluke, who continues his program. Additionally, the robot siblings have emerged as characters in the show. After some time. The United States President calls the Cortez family. He wants to assign a task only to the children of the couple. However, the youngsters agree to participate only if Uncle Machete and the rest of the family were involved. All things considered, they are a covert operative family. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.